Dr. Jessica Ash here. Today, I have a surprise announcement about an upcoming Harry Potter event. So stay tuned. And today we're speaking with Pedro Chavez, who is an immigration attorney, and we're talking about how to find free attorneys for refugees. So again, stay tuned. Pedro Chavez has started a nonprofit called Fear of Return that helps refugees find free attorneys. And so I'm very happy to have him here today to talk about this subject. Thanks, Pedro.
Hey, hi, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So let's start with you telling me how you became an immigration attorney.
Okay, well, it's an interesting story. So I never anticipated becoming an immigration attorney. Actually, I studied intellectual property law for 2 years at the University of Houston Law Center, and that was what my goal was. U of H is like pretty famous for its IP, and so I kind of decided that's what I should capitalize on. But when I passed the bar in 2018, and I was gonna, start being a lawyer, I was basically terrified of, trying to spend the next 20 years making partner, wearing a suit every day, and that kind of thing. And I knew that was going to be my life. And so around that time, I started seeing the caravans headed to San Diego. And I was like, well, I'm going to do like one last like fun thing for me. I'm going to pack up all my things, because I'm from Texas, and drive to San Diego and, see if I like immigration law, basically help out with the immigration crisis. When I got here, my car broke down the second day I was in San Diego. Pep Boys quoted me $4,000 to get it fixed, which is what the car was worth. And I didn't know anyone in California. I was basically living in a motel for the first 2 days. And right before I sold my car, I was going through Craigslist ads to look for a place to live, and I found a place in Tijuana. And that guy who had that ad came to my rescue. He showed up at the dealership and he said, look, I have 20 years of car experience. Don't take advantage of this guy. We're going to take all his stuff, put it in my car, drive to Tijuana. I'm going to get his car fixed for $300, and he's going to live with me for free for 1 month. That's what he told the dealership guy. And I was thinking, like, this guy's going to kill me. And because I was like, thank you, sir, but no, thank you.
He's going to whisk you off to Tijuana.
Yeah, take my stuff. And I've never been to Tijuana. Actually, what I told my parents when I told them I was coming is like, the only thing they made me promise is just promise us that you will not go into Tijuana, because it's a pretty dangerous kind of city. In any case, I told him thank you, but no thank you. But he was kind of insistent. So I was like, all right, if we're going to do this, I need a picture of your passport, a picture of your license plate, and a picture of you in front of your car. And he took pictures of all of that and gave it to me. And I'd sent all that to my brother. And I'm like, if I die, this is the guy that did it. And yeah. And so after all of that, I trusted him. And we did what he said. We went to Tijuana very slowly in the car, and he got my car fixed for $300. I'm still living with him. Here it is, Airbnb. And that and that man became my first client. You see, one of the reasons he was so motivated to help me is because he knew, I told him that I wanted to be an immigration attorney, and he was a U.S. citizen with family born here in Mexico. And he needed what's called a consular report of birth abroad. I didn't know any of this. I didn't study immigration law. And so I contacted every nonprofit in San Diego to help me with this case, because I was a new attorney. I didn't know anything. That put me in contact with Catholic Charities San Diego. They helped me connect with another attorney who helped me with, do some research for him. And then Catholic Charities made me an offer to be a staff attorney, and that's how I got my first legal job, and that's how I became an immigration attorney.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And so you're speaking to us from Tijuana. I guess that's why your internet looks a little iffy.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
You're a little blurry, but I'm sure our viewers will be patient, because our viewers are from developing nations all over the world. So the idea of being a refugee or the refugee crisis is very dear to their hearts. A lot of my viewers are watching. There's a famous podcaster who's a refugee going through Europe, and he's got like 1 million viewers. And so tell us a little bit. You've told us how you became an immigration attorney, and that's a great story. How did you decide to found a nonprofit to help refugees find free attorneys?
Well, I mean, that happened almost by accident in a way. So when I took the staff position at Catholic Charities, I was automatically became an immigration attorney that specialized in asylum. So I was representing clients from all over the world all of a sudden, and I was going to immigration court and just handling their cases, trying to keep them safely in the country. But for every person that I represented, I had to turn away like 10, 20 people. Oh, is that my graphic? Sorry, do I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's cool.
Still here.
Okay. So I just kept having to send all of these denial of legal services letters, and I kept researching the topic, and it was, 2% of immigrants are represented through nonprofits. Finding attorneys for free isn't a new concept. There's a lot of nonprofits that do that. It's just the numbers are so low. And so I was basically very frustrated that I always had to turn them away. And another thing was happening at the same time. Catholic Charities put me in charge of their MPP initiative. So basically, I was one of the only attorneys in Tijuana doing legal evaluations at the migrant shelters. Because I was living here, I spoke Spanish, I was an attorney, and so they saw it as an opportunity. And when the director asked me to do it, I was like, this is a great idea, let me do it. That's why I came. Because remember, I came to help with the migrant crisis with the caravans, right. And that's where they were. So for 3 months, I was in these shelters with Catholic Charities doing legal evaluations, sending them to the other attorneys in San Diego to see if they took the case, to see if I could take a case. And right before I left Catholic Charities, because I was going to take the California bar, because I was Texas licensed, but if I was going to stay in California, I had to take the California bar, and I couldn't be employed and study for it at the same time. It's just impossible. So when I left, I asked who was going to replace me in Tijuana, and the director said they would find somebody, but they didn't find anybody. So Fear of Return was originally just a project that I had. I was going to do it on the weekends. I was going to go into the shelters, do legal evaluations, and provide those evaluations to San Diego attorneys, connecting them with attorneys for free. And that's what I was going to do on my weekends while I studied for the California bar. But then COVID hit, and COVID changed everything. It was like, all of a sudden, the shelters went on lockdown. They were terrified of me. They were terrified that I would bring the virus in, or that they would give me the virus. But like, for the first time, I wasn't hugged or anything. It was like, stay, I mean, I understand it completely. One of them was pretty complete. Yeah. And so I spoke with the directors like from a distance, and we talked, and it was like, okay, look, if you're going to do this, we'll support you, but you need to adapt to COVID, and you need to figure this out. The MPP docket, the immigration courts were closed at the time. And so I had to either, give up on the project or double down in it. And I doubled down. I basically gathered a board of directors together. I did the full California registration, volunteer manuals, an asylum primer for volunteers. Basically every structural component that you're supposed to do for a nonprofit, we did over the course of the quarantine. And we did our formal launch on December 23rd. So what started as basically me trying to solve this problem of there's not enough attorneys, and then trying to say, well, there's no one in Tijuana doing this, became this kind of nonprofit that now is designed to provide attorneys to refugees at a reduced cost whenever we can find them. If we can find them for free, we find them for free. If we can't, we raise funds to pay for an attorney at a reduced cost, because we do most of the legal legwork with volunteers. So it just kind of became Fear of Return.
That's really impressive. That's almost a better story than how you became an immigration attorney. So where are you at now with your bar? Have you taken the bar? Or
I didn't take the bar. So that's another thing. Like, so because of COVID, the bar kept getting moved. It moved like 3 times. They kept offering refunds. So after it was moved first from July, and then it was moved to September. And eventually it just conflicted with my schedule too much that I had to ask for a refund. So I didn't even get to take the bar. But because of that, actually, I got to spend more time building the nonprofit. It was kind of it's a weird fate thing, I guess.
Yes. So I want to show the logo one more time. Don't get scared. You're not going anywhere. And this is Fear of Return. We're both still here. And how can people who need an attorney as a refugee, how can they find you?
So if they're a refugee, there's multiple ways they can find us. I mean, one, go to our landing page, fearofreturn.org, and just go through that. The portal's there. You can go through Miedo de Regresar. If you're a Spanish speaker, that's the same. It'll take you to the same place. You can reach out by emailing info@fearofreturn.org. Right now, we're dealing. The thing is, we're so new. We're dealing specifically with the directors of the Tijuana migrant shelters. So when we locate refugees, we're the ones looking for them. It's not really them looking for us. I mean, at the same time, I'm talking to like the president of like the Uyghur community to hopefully start helping Uyghur refugees from China, and
Wow.
the Tigray crisis just started. And so it's really more us looking for them, and making ourselves available. Because again, we just launched on December 23rd. We're a pretty new nonprofit, but if they do want to reach out to us, they can email us and go through our landing page and contact us through there. We have a contact form at the very bottom of that landing page, and we will reach out immediately. Yeah, that's one way that they can reach out to us.
Okay. And what about lawyers? How can lawyers get in touch with you? The same way?
Well, with lawyers, it's a bit of a different process. So they have to go to the bottom of our landing page where it says register. And there they would email us at register@fearofreturn.org, and we need bar license numbers, certificates of good standing to make sure that they're licensed in the state where they're practicing in and haven't committed any ethical issues. And basically the commitment to provide pro bono representation. Or at the same time, if they are a paid attorney, then they have to basically commit to taking on a case at a reduced cost or reduced price. Because I mean, since only 2% of immigrants are represented by free attorneys, we do anticipate that we need to reach the other 98%, and to reach them, we do have to pay them something. But when we do pay them, we want them to do a good job. We track their case, and we want to make sure that they do it at a reduced price. So for them, it's a different process. There's a few more hurdles because we want qualified attorneys. So that's one way they could do it, by going to the bottom of our landing page where it says register.
Okay. And it's the email address is register@fearofreturn.org.
That's right.
Okay. So I just made a banner, and we'll see if it's going to show up correct.
Fear of Return nonprofit providing free attorneys for refugees. Register at fearofreturn.org. Well, cool. I mean, I would put something on there that if you're an attorney, register. Because if you want to be a volunteer, there's a whole another process that goes through fearofreturn.org/help. Because we need volunteers from all different disciplines, translators, people that want to interview refugees and do some of the data gathering that we provide attorneys. Because through our volunteers, we can afford to reduce the cost that we pay a private attorney. We have volunteers doing a lot of the initial evidence gathering and legal legwork. So that way, when we do go to a paid attorney, they don't charge full price. So
great. Yeah. So I did register to help, and I'm happy to do interviews, or I know that if you get computers donated to the places, then I'm happy to teach. That would be really, really fun. And I happily plan a trip down there if we're allowed to travel again.
Look forward to it. I'll show you around. I know a really good taco place, and we can go help some refugees too.
Yeah. How do your parents feel about you living in Tijuana?
The first few months we talked every day, but now they're totally cool with it. This has been my second home, so they've adapted. We talk all the time, so they're not worried. They just make sure don't go out at night, still too late, don't go places that you don't know. Basic safety things, which I just follow because it's safety. But yeah, they're cool with it.
Okay. So it's worth note that we met on Clubhouse. Yeah. And can you tell a little bit about an event that you ran on Clubhouse?
Yeah, you're referring to the Harry Potter event. Yeah. So for the audience, me and Jessie met on Clubhouse. We just kind of connected. She does amazing NGO work, and I do this nonprofit thing. So we just started talking offline, and that's how we scheduled this. But as for the Harry Potter event, so like I said, we did our formal launch on December 23rd, and we did our first fundraising effort on Clubhouse on January 22nd. So on Clubhouse, it's an audio-based app for those that aren't familiar with it. It's like a podcast, an interactive podcast where people can talk on stage and listen in the audience. And audience members can raise your hand and go up on stage. So that's just a primer on Clubhouse. I would Google it for your audience because not too many people know about it, but it is a very, very big app now. In any case, on January 22nd, I opened a room in Clubhouse called World Record for Charity, Reading Harry Potter Nonstop. It was my attempt at breaking the world record for reading aloud, set at 113 hours and held by a nice Nigerian gentleman. Nice guy anyways. But in any case, I was going to break that world record by reading the entire Harry Potter book series all on my own to raise funds for refugees to have attorneys. And so I went into the room, I started reading, and by the second book, by Chamber of Secrets, my voice had basically gone out. I was about to pass out from exhaustion, and there was just 4 people in that room listening to me read. Right before I passed out, one of the people down there raised her hand, got up on stage. Her name was Laulu. And she volunteered to save the event. She said, "Look, you go to sleep. I'll read over the night. I'll read some chapters and just get some sleep." So Lalu read 10 chapters that night, and when I woke up, there was like 20 more people in the room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then more people started showing up, and they started taking turns reading chapter after chapter of Harry Potter. We kept that room open for 6 solid days, 24 hours a day. Thousands of people went in and out of that room over the course of those 6 days. J.K. Rowling's office emailed me and apologized for why J.K. couldn't show up, but wished us well with the event. A strategist from Harry Potter Global showed up and I read a chapter and told us, like, this is what Harry Potter is all about. And so we had this kind of successful event, and I made so many really amazing friends on Clubhouse in the Harry Potter community. I mean, Khadija, Kelly, everybody there, Erica, so many names. Go to my Instagram, I put them all there. They're really, we became really good friends in LA. I can go to LA and New York now and hang out with them. London, we had people from the UK reading. And so it was all in this really fun event, but also to help raise funds for refugees to have free attorneys. And that was the Harry Potter event. And based on the success of that event, we're actually going to try it again, this time much better produced. We're going to be doing an audio script reading of the entire Harry Potter film series in about 3 months on Clubhouse.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait for that one. I was really impressed with Lalu. She was devoted to your cause. And you said that there's somewhere people can see you put something up about the participants or something?
Yeah. So the landing page for that event is now, we just created it. It's called aloud.club, ALOUD.club/Harry Potter. And if you go into that landing page, you'll see a very interesting person on there. And this just actually happened 2 days ago. And he's given me permission to say his name on anything because he wants us to use his name for publicity. He's a really nice guy. So 2 days ago, a friend of mine named Leonard Clifton, who's the writer for The Last Prince of Atlantis Chronicles. He's an amazing writer, has a really awesome book series that uses Black and Latino protagonists. It's great. He's negotiating a film for it. So I would really support Leonard Clifton, great author. In any case, he put me in contact with Billy Ray. Billy Ray is an Academy Award nominated screenwriter. He wrote the Hunger Games screenplays. He wrote Heart's War. He wrote Captain Phillips. He is this huge name, and he is now on board with the project. He's going to be playing one of the Dumbledores, I think. He actually Billy didn't tell me what he wanted. He just said he wants to help and he wants to play a role, and he wants to support us. And
that's so exciting.
Yeah, so I'm thinking he's going to be one of the Dumbledores. So for the Harry Potter audio play, we're going to do 8 films divided into 3 acts with different performers for every act. So basically, we need 23 Harrys, 23 Rons, 23 Hermiones, basically 700 plus roles that we have now a casting director is going to help us do that. We have a production team in place. And our first big grab is going to be Leonard if you want, Leonard too, if he wants a role.
And Billy Ray.
But Billy Ray, he's just the nicest guy. And he emailed me and he's like, he's in it and he wants us to start using his name to kind of raise more awareness for the event. So that we're ecstatic about that. And we have other actual big names coming up that I can't say their names yet because they haven't committed to the project. But if we get the person that I'm hoping, this person, everyone's heard of him. And I can't even say his name yet, but because his schedule might permit. He's also a very nice person. but he's extremely busy. So I don't want to say his name unless he commits to it. So, but keep an
Is
eye
it
out for that. Yeah,
Or do
yeah. Allowed.club/Harry Potter to keep up with the progress of the event. We're casting a ton of people. We're going to be populating that landing page with everyone we cast, featured performers, musical acts. We're going to be using beatboxers for music. And it's all going to be to raise funds for refugees. It's a charitable event that we're going to be holding in about 3 months to raise more funds for refugees throughout the world to have attorneys represent them when they're claiming asylum in a first world country.
That's really exciting. So I have to ask, did you actually break the record?
No, I mean, so the only way I could have broken that record back then is if I had kept going for 113 hours on my own. After the first 24 hours, like I said, my voice was gone and I was going to pass out. So
Okay.
the moment Laulu took over, the record was closed. But I do have the record for longest held Harry Potter room on Clubhouse. I'm going to hold on to that, and that's my record.
Great award. That's a great
Yeah.
title. I should have put that as what your title is.
Yep.
And so I participated in that room and I had a lot of fun.
You did.
I'm wondering. So I was using all kinds of British voices, and I read the Harry Potter books aloud to my children. It really was. So my son's 24, and he was the perfect age. He was like 8, maybe, when the first book came out. And so as he aged and as the books got scarier and scarier, it was okay for him because he was, 15 by the time Dumbledore dies, or, and I read them aloud, and I love Jim Dale. Oh, you got to get Jim Dale involved in this.
During the first event, if you remember, Jesse, we were trying nonstop to try to get Jim Dale, but we couldn't. It was too late. It was too spontaneous, but we are going to be reaching out to Jim Dale because, I love his reading of the Harry Potter book series. I mean, if you get him to do the narration, because the scripts have narration sections, and I would love it if he was the narrator for this narration section.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
and it's really funny because did anybody else use British voices when they were reading? It looks like we love it.
Now that I think about it. Oh no, sorry, no, Sean did. I don't know if you remember Sean. He's a friend of mine. He was in the room. I think you and Sean were the only Americans that were brave enough to try a British accent.
It was funny because
the UK people that.
Go ahead.
No, what? Sorry, we're breaking it up.
Oh.
No, I was going to say the UK people were like our professional British accent people, because they were all in London and reading the thing. But you were one of the only Americans to try it.
Well, what's funny is because I read all of them out loud, and I listened to Jim Dale, and I just every time. So of course we read the books out loud, and we had Jim Dale's audio of the books, and I still have them all. And like when you started reading, all I had to do was go downstairs to my daughter's bedroom and pick up one of the 17 copies of every, book that she has. But so I'm a linguist, and I practice speaking a lot of different languages. And so as I started getting into it, so when I'm a professor, I can have a very haughty voice like Professor McGonagall. And then like, as I try, and I can't do Hagrid right now, but like when I was in that mode, it like suddenly I didn't know that I could do this, but suddenly I had like 13 different accents.
Yeah, especially for Hagrid. I mean, J.K. did a really good job writing Hagrid. It's like because the writing that she uses, it's like phonetic almost, so it makes you do a Hagrid voice when you read it.
It's like a Cockney accent. That's not the same as a Professor McGonagall accent.
Yeah, kind of.
And all the British people on Earth, if they want to make fun of me, they can make fun of me.
Okay.
It's all fun anyway. And since we're talking about Harry Potter, I have to mention Alan Rickman.
Oh, late Alan Rickman. His voice was amazing for every role he played. He's just
Yeah, and his quote when his wife asked him, or somebody asked him, "Oh God, you're going to watch Harry Potter again?" And it's a meme now, and he says, "Harry Potter, forever."
Really? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a meme.
I'll find
it and send it to you. But someone was like, are you ever just going to just not pay attention to Harry Potter? And he was like, no, always. I will always. And so, J.K. Rowling the books are amazing. The movies are different, and that's great. I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, the book is so much better than the movie. Of course it is, but the movies are awesome. But when I talk about Alan Rickman, and his quote, I'm talking about how the actors love it, and she created such an amazing world. And so I will always be a Harry Potter fan, and whatever you want me to do for Allowed.club and the next Harry Potter event, I'm in.
Well, I mean, we just started production last week, actually last Thursday. So yeah, we're happy to have you on board, Jesse. We'll find you something to do, because we need all the help we can get. This is going to be a huge production over the course of the next three months. It seems simple. It's just reading the script, but it's a logistical issue with the production. But I know the production team we have in place is having a lot of fun with this, and we're going to do. I'm hoping an amazing job helping refugees with having fun and raising funds for them at the same time.
Yes, and so I think that's a great segue to bring it back to full circle. And so you're raising funds through a Harry Potter event and other events to provide free attorneys to refugees.
Yeah, and to support that, go to fearofreturn.org/donate. If you want to get started already. It's a tax deductible donation, and it does help a lot. So fearofreturn.org/donate.
And before we go, I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about the refugee crisis? I've heard some news stories, but I'd love to hear from you. Why is this a problem?
I mean, the refugee crisis is 79 million displaced people globally. I mean, we have Syrian refugees. We have refugees from Cameroon who are being persecuted for speaking English because the government speaks French. It's that simple over there. I mean, they come here through South America usually, and they make it to the U.S. asking for asylum. There are Uyghur refugees in China who are being persecuted because they're Muslim, and they're being sent to re-education camps. It's just a travesty what's happening and isn't being reported. The Central and South Americans are headed to San Diego or to Texas because the gangs there are just the de facto government, and the government isn't even trying to stop them anymore. And so there's all these different groups of refugees from all over the world fleeing their countries for different reasons, but all of them are just terrified of going back, because if they go back, they'll be killed. And that is a refugee. That is the legal definition. That if they go back, they will be killed or persecuted by their government or someone their government can't control. And when they arrive at these first world countries, they arrive not knowing the language. They arrive with no knowledge of the legal system. And they're asked to represent themselves, because under US law and most other first world countries, they are not entitled to an attorney. And because of that, that's what Fear of Return is designed to do. It's designed to stand up for them and to sit next to them on their court date, to when they apply for asylum, when they say that they're afraid to go home, that they have someone who can advocate for them so that they have the best possible chance at staying safe in a first world country. And that's what we try to do. We just want them to have a fair shot at this, because asking them to understand the most complicated part of law in the United States, which is immigration law, is just unfair. And that's what we're trying to help.
Well, I'm really happy to bring awareness to this topic today. I'm laughing because I worked for a language company a long time ago, and they had a 13-page application in English for non-native speakers. And when they hired me, they were so confused. They didn't understand why the applications weren't filled out properly. And that's a language company. Like, how do you, I mean, you want to teach these people English, and you have an application in English, and you're so shocked that they're not filling it out right.
Yeah.
And so I really applaud what you're doing, because the refugee crisis is really so sad. And I want to say that America is a melting pot of amazing refugees from all over the world. One of my favorite students ever is a Syrian refugee, and she's doing wonderfully here. I'm really happy to report she went through my program and graduated. And I want to say a little something about the mindset of refugees. They come from a horrible background, whatever tragedy happened to them, and they were resilient and strong enough to make it here. And when I talk about that I talk about resilience a lot because we need it. And I had a driver once in Washington, D.C., and every time I went somewhere, I didn't call a cab, I called him. And every time he picked me up, I'd say, "How are you today?" And he would say, "You know what? Pol Pot is not shooting at me, so I'm awesome." And, that's the spirit of a refugee. That guy had 4 kids here.
Mhm.
All 4 kids went to college for free. He figured out he said, "I don't care what you have to do, kids, you're studying, and I want you to get A's, and it was a great school system." And he found out how to get free college for all 4 of his kids. I mean, that's America to me.
Yeah.
America is founded on the hard work of refugees.
Yeah, it really is. And we have to remember that.
Yes. So it's worth repeating as much as possible. So Pedro, I look forward to the development of the Harry Potter project. And I'm going to put the logo up of Fear of Return one more time so people, if I can find it, so people can see fearofreturn.org. If you want to donate, go to their website. And they need lawyers. And so will you come back and update us as to these projects for us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd be happy to. I had fun, Jesse, so I'll stop by anytime you need me. So
okay.
And I look forward to tell you more advances on how the project goes.
Yes, very exciting. I hope you're going to get a hard line for your internet for the next one.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah,
okay.
I definitely do.
All right. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. I'll see you.
Any last words? Any last words? Or?
Hello? I don't know. Goodbye. Fearofreturn.org/donate. And keep an eye out for refugees and help them whenever you can.
Good last word. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to an interview with Pedro Chavez, an immigration attorney and the executive director of a nonprofit called Fear of Return. Thanks for joining us.